When my lawyer called, there was panic in his voice. "Ethan, you need to come to the office immediately. There's a very serious situation with your brother, and your father's inheritance is completely at risk." When I hung up the phone, all I could think about was the betrayal Blake had done to me and how he had torn our family apart. "My name is Ethan Mitchell. I'm 29 years old and I work as a software developer at a tech company in Seattle. My brother Blake is 25 years old and had always been the apple of the family's eye. My father, James Mitchell, was the founder of Mitchell Electronics, and over the years the company had become a technology empire worth millions of dollars. Everything started 3 months ago at my grandmother's 85th birthday celebration. We had all gathered for the family dinner. My mother Sarah, my father James, my brother Blake, my grandmother Eleanor, and a few aunts and uncles. The atmosphere was quite intimate and cheerful, until Blake stood up and started talking. "I have something I want to announce to everyone," Blake had said, wine glass in hand. "We've always valued honesty in our family, right? Well, Adrian has been hiding something from you all." My heart felt like it was going to stop. I knew what he was going to do at that moment, but I couldn't stop him. "Ethan is gay. You all need to know this. He's been living with someone named Daniel for 3 years, but introduced him to us as just a roommate. There are photos of them kissing on Daniel's Instagram account." There was silence at the dinner table. My mother looked at me in shock, while my father just shook his head. The expression on my grandmother Eleanor's face was one I'll never forget. A mixture of disappointment and anger. "Is this true, Ethan?" my father had asked, with a coldness in his voice. "Yes," I said quietly. "I'm gay and I live with Daniel, but I didn't think this was any of your business." "Our business?" my grandmother had shouted. "This is a lifestyle that conflicts with this family's values. If I had known my grandson was living such a life." Blake was smiling in the corner. At that moment, I didn't realize this wasn't just betrayal, but a calculated move. After dinner, when everyone had gone home, Blake had pulled me aside. "Sorry, bro, but it was time to stop hiding it. Honesty is important in the family." "Why did you do this, Blake? Did you want them to find out this way?" I had asked, with both anger and disappointment in my voice. "Maybe it was better this way. Now you don't have to hide anymore." That night when I got home, Daniel and I talked for a long time. He was also disturbed by Blake's behavior. "This isn't normal brotherly behavior, Ethan. It seemed like he was planning something." "What do you mean?" "I don't know, but the timing is very strange. Grandmother's birthday, a day when the whole family gathered. It's like he wanted to create maximum impact." Daniel was right, but at the time we couldn't understand how advanced Blake's plan was. In the following days, the situation within the family became tense. My mother would call from time to time asking, "Why didn't you tell us?" My father started acting completely distant. The worst was my grandmother Eleanor. Our phone conversations were completely cut off. 2 weeks later, my father had a heart attack. During the 3 days he was in the hospital, our family had gathered. Blake had been by his side constantly, talking to him for long periods. Even after my father recovered, Blake continued to be very close to him. "Blake is really acting mature," my mother had said one day. "He's taking good care of your father and helping with company matters too." While I was constantly trying to come and go from Seattle, I couldn't spare much time due to my work. Blake, on the other hand, lived in Portland and had a more flexible job. When my father passed away, his unexpected death deeply affected all of us. On the day of the funeral, Blake looked very sad, constantly crying and saying, "I wish we could have spent more time together." A week after the funeral, I got a call from our family lawyer, Michael Harrison. "Ethan, you need to come to my office tomorrow for the will reading ceremony. At 2 o'clock the whole family will gather." "Of course, Mr. Harrison. Is there a problem?" "Just some unexpected arrangements. We'll talk tomorrow." The next day when I went to the lawyer's office, my mother, Blake, and grandmother Eleanor were there. Everyone had a different expression on their face. Blake looked particularly calm and confident. Mr. Harrison put on his glasses and opened the will documents. Robert Mitchell's will is quite detailed. In the assets accumulated during his marriage, his wife Sarah Mitchell will receive a 40% share. The remaining 60% will go to his children. This seemed normal. My father had always said he would make a fair distribution. However, Mr. Harrison continued, the will has been revised in the last 6 months. Robert Mitchell leaves 45% of the company to Blake Mitchell and 15% to Ethan Mitchell. I was shocked. What do you mean? My father always said he would share equally. The will was changed on March 3rd. Robert cited Blake's dedication to the company and his interest in business matters as justification. March 3rd. This date was right after grandmother's birthday dinner. Also, the lawyer continued, control of the family foundation also passes to Blake. This is approximately an $8 million fund. The slight smile on Blake's face was now making sense. Everything was planned. Wait, I said, standing up. There must be a reason for my father to make such a decision. Did he tell you why he made this change? Mr. Harrison looked uncomfortable. Robert mentioned that preserving family values was important, and that the company's future should be entrusted to someone with traditional values. Traditional values? Now I could clearly see Blake's plan. Grandmother Eleanor spoke at that moment. Ethan, you chose your own path. You must bear the consequences. When I left the office, Blake caught up with me. Bro, I'm sorry it turned out this way, but Dad had made his own decision. You talked to him, didn't you? Those nights in the hospital, at home. What did you tell? Blake? Just the facts. About who would be more suitable for the company's future. What facts? Blake's innocent expression disappeared. Ethan, you live your own life in Seattle. You're not interested in the company. You have no loyalty to the family. I'm here. I understand the company's values. Company values? You're 25 years old, Blake. What do you know about business? I know enough. And I told Dad so too. That night when I got home, Daniel met me at the door. When I told him about the situation, he was also shocked. This isn't legal, Ethan. He must have manipulated your father to make such a change. Can we prove it? I don't know, but we have to try. The next day, I went to my own lawyer, Lisa Chen. When I explained the situation to her, she frowned. Ethan, will court cases are very complex. If your father made this decision with a sound mind, it's very difficult to overturn. But Blake manipulated him. He changed the will right after learning I was gay. What you're saying is discrimination, but it's hard to prove, especially since your father is no longer alive. So we can't do anything? Lisa looked thoughtful. We can do something, but it requires detailed investigation. Blake's conversations with your father, the timing of the will change, hospital records. We need to examine everything. How long will this take? A few months, and it will be expensive. Don't worry about money, let's do it. In the following weeks, Lisa and her team conducted comprehensive research. They examined Blake's recent meetings with my father, hospital visits, even phone records. 3 weeks later, Lisa called me. There was excitement in her voice. Ethan, I found something very important. We accessed Blake's cell phone records. 1 day before your father made the will change, Blake talked to a research company. What kind of research company? Private investigation. They prepared a report mentioning you and Daniel, scanning your social media accounts and collecting your photos. Now everything was falling into place. Blake hadn't just made a spontaneous betrayal. He had been planning for months. More importantly, Lisa continued, according to hospital records, your father was using antidepressants after his heart attack. These medications can affect decision-making ability. This means We can get the will annulled, but we need stronger evidence. That evening, Daniel and I talked for a long time. It was time to take action against Blake. Ethan, I have an idea. Blake feels very secure right now. Maybe he'll talk too much and give himself away. What do you mean? Meet with him. Organize a family gathering. Record your conversations. Maybe he'll confess. It might not have been technically legal, but what Blake did wasn't legal either. The next day, I called Blake. Blake, we need to talk about this inheritance issue, for the sake of our family's unity. Of course, bro. When do you want to meet? How about tomorrow evening? Come to my house. Meet Daniel too. Since we're family. There was satisfaction in Blake's voice. Great idea. I'll be there at 7 tomorrow. The next evening, Blake came to our house. Daniel was very polite. He had even prepared dinner. Blake looked comfortable, talking with the confidence of his victory. During dinner, I brought up the topic. Blake, I'm trying to understand Dad's will decision. Was it really just concerns about company management? Blake brought his wineglass to his mouth. Ethan, you know Dad was very traditional. Your lifestyle had disturbed him. My lifestyle? You mean being gay? Not just that. You live in Seattle. You're not interested in the company. You don't come to family gatherings. But Blake, you betrayed me at grandmother's birthday. In a planned way. Blake smiled. Betrayal? I was just being honest. There should be no secrecy in the family. So hiring a private detective was also honesty? Blake's face changed. You don't know what you're talking about. No, I know very well. You hired a private detective to collect photos of me and Daniel. Then you showed them to Dad. You can't prove it. Actually, I can, Blake. I have your phone records. Blake's expression completely changed. That innocent little brother was gone. So what happens now? Dad is dead. The will is valid. You can't win anything in court. Are you sure? Yes. Because Dad made the decision with a sound mind. I just told him the truth. What truths, Blake? That you don't belong to this family. That being gay is contrary to our family's values. That you don't have the ability to manage the company. Daniel and I made eye contact. Blake was saying exactly what we wanted. So what did Grandmother say about this? Grandmother never liked you anyway. When I explained your situation to her, she immediately said to call Dad. Did you manipulate Grandmother? Too? Not manipulation, Ethan. Facts. You don't belong to this family. You never did. Blake stood up. I'm leaving now. This conversation won't change anything. After he left through the door, Daniel and I looked at each other. You recorded everything, right? I asked. Yes. Every word. The next day we took the recording to Lisa. After listening to the recording, she smiled. This is very good, Ethan. Blake confessed with his own mouth that he manipulated. He also said they acted together with your grandmother. Is it enough? Together with the hospital records, yes. We can prove that Blake and your grandmother systematically influenced your father during the period when he was using antidepressants. The court process lasted 3 months. Blake was confident at first, but as he saw the evidence we had, he panicked. Private detective company records, phone conversations, hospital reports and recording transcript were evaluated together, and the situation was clear. Blake had manipulated my father during his weak moments and had the will changed. On the court day, Blake had an expensive lawyer with him, but our evidence was very strong. When the judge made his decision, he said, "It has been proven that Mr. Mitchell was not in a sound mental state when changing his will, and that close family members made coordinated manipulation. The original will shall be considered valid." I'll never forget the expression on Blake's face. His entire plan had failed. When we left the courthouse, Blake confronted me one last time. You may have closed this matter, bro, but your situation in the family hasn't changed. You're still gay, and you don't belong to this family. Blake, I said calmly, You can no longer decide who belongs to this family and who doesn't. And I'm recording this conversation too. Blake's face turned pale, and he left without saying anything. After the inheritance issue was resolved, our family relationship slowly returned to normal. My mother was initially angry with Blake, but eventually forgave him too. As for my grandmother, my relationship with her was never the same as before, but at least we were talking. Blake moved from Portland and went to another city. We rarely talk, but he doesn't come to family gatherings anymore. Blake calling me happened. A year later, there was panic in his voice, just like when my lawyer called me that day. "Ethan, I need to talk to you. It's a very important matter." "What happened, Blake?" "My job in Portland failed. And there are other problems." It turned out that after the inheritance issue was resolved, Blake had directed the money he received to risky investments and lost it all. Moreover, his former business partners were accusing him of fraud. "Ethan, we're family, aren't we? Can you help me?" Look at this irony. The man who tried to exclude me from the family was now talking about family ties. "Blake, you told me you don't belong to this family. You can't have forgotten." I was angry then. I spoke wrong. Wrong? You planned for months and manipulated Dad. This isn't speaking wrong, it's deliberate betrayal. I hung up the phone. Daniel was standing next to me. "Won't you help him?" he asked. "I don't know. On one hand, he's my brother. On the other hand, I think about what he did to me. Maybe this is the moment when he's really sorry." Daniel might have been right, but trusting Blake wasn't easy. A week later, my mother called. "Ethan, Blake is in a very difficult situation. He has debts, can't find a job. Maybe you can give him a chance." "Mom, you can't have forgotten what Blake did to me." "I didn't forget, of course. But he's still your brother, and people can change." My mother's words echoed in my head. Maybe Blake had really changed. Or maybe this was another manipulation. That evening, Daniel and I talked for a long time. "Should I give him a chance?" I asked. "Ethan, how do you feel? Do you really want to forgive?" "I don't know. On one hand, I want to forgive because he's my brother. On the other hand, it's not easy to forget everything." "Then let's find a middle way. Help him, but be careful." The next day I called Blake. "I'm coming to Portland. Let's talk." When I saw Blake, I was shocked. He had lost a lot of weight, looked stressed. He didn't look anything like his old confident self. "Ethan, I'm so glad you came. Tell me, Blake, what happened?" Blake explained the situation in detail. He had invested the money he received from the inheritance in cryptocurrency and stock investments, but all his money was gone. Moreover, his former business partner Simon was claiming that he stole customer information and said he would file a lawsuit. What exactly happened with Simon? We had founded a digital marketing company together. Business was going well. But after I got the inheritance, I tried to get into bigger business. Simon told me that I took customer lists and moved to another company. Is this true? Blake bowed his head. Part of it is true. But Simon had very big mistakes. He was going to bankrupt the company. Same Blake again. He still wasn't taking full responsibility for his mistakes. Blake, I want to help you. But first I need to know something. Are you really sorry for what you did to Dad? Blake remained silent for a long time. I'm sorry, Ethan. I was very young then. I was jealous. You were always smarter, more successful. I wanted to stand out somehow, too. But what you did wasn't just competition, Blake. You used my sexual orientation as a weapon. I know and I now understand how wrong that was. After meeting Daniel, I saw how happy you were. I tried to take your happiness away from you. Maybe for the first time Blake was really speaking honestly. So, what do you want from me now? Can you give me a job at your company? I don't want A big position, just enough to stay on my feet. This wasn't an easy decision. Trusting Blake was a risk, but not giving him a second chance could divide our family forever. Okay, Blake, I can give you a position in our Portland office, but I have conditions. I'll accept everything. First, you need to solve the problem with Simon. Second, you'll be completely honest with me. Third, you'll respect Daniel and my lifestyle. I accept. Blake's starting work wasn't easy. For the first few months I was very cautious, monitoring his every move. But over time, I began to see that he was really changing. The Simon issue was also resolved. Blake really hadn't stolen customer information, he had just used marketing strategies he developed himself, which was a legal right. Simon's accusations were baseless. 6 months later, Blake moved to Seattle. His relationship with Daniel was also good now. He had even bought Daniel a gift for his birthday. "Ethan," Blake had said one day, "Daniel really loves you. It makes me happy to see how compatible you two are." These words had affected me a lot. Blake was really changing. My mother had also noticed Blake's change. "Son, thank you for giving Blake a second chance. It's so nice for us to come together as a family again." Grandmother Eleanor's situation was more complicated. She had manipulated Blake just as Blake had manipulated her. They had both used each other. I had the opportunity to talk to my grandmother at a family dinner. We were talking about Blake's change. "Eleanor, grandmother," I said, "what Blake did was wrong, but I made mistakes too. It was wrong of me not to tell you about my sexual orientation. Ethan, I was very rigid about that. Now when I see you and Daniel, I understand how happy you are. In my time such things were harder, but times are changing." This apology had relieved me a lot. We were really healing as a family. Blake's career also began to recover. He was doing very successful work in the marketing department at Mitchell Electronics. He had even brought a new campaign proposal. "Ethan, can we do a campaign highlighting the company's LGBTQ+ friendly policies? This would be beneficial both in terms of social responsibility and business development." I was surprised by Blake's suggestion. "Are you sure you're comfortable with this?" "Of course. It's both the right thing to do and smart business-wise." The campaign was very successful. MIT Electronics received support from both local LGBTQ+ communities and gained new customers. During Daniel and my wedding preparations, Blake was very helpful. He took part in wedding organization, invitation design, and even the wedding speech. Blake's speech at the wedding affected everyone. "Ethan, as your brother I learned a lot. Real courage is not being different. It's choosing love despite people who don't love you for being different. You and Daniel taught me what real love looks like." Everyone could see how sincere Blake was in this speech. A year after the wedding, Blake came with news that surprised me. "Ethan, I have something to tell you. I'm also dating someone." "Great news. Who is it?" "Alex, the graphic designer we work with." "Is Alex a male name?" Blake smiled. "Yes. I also realized I'm gay." This was very surprising. "When did you realize?" "Actually, I had been suspicious for a long time, but it was hard to accept. Seeing you and Daniel made me understand my own feelings better." "This is a very brave decision, Blake. You gave me courage, bro. You showed that you don't have to hide your identity, that the family will still love you." This irony had deeply affected me. While Blake was trying to punish me for being gay, he was actually denying himself too. "Are you thinking of telling the family?" "Yes. But I need your support." "Of course I'm with you." Blake's coming out to the family was much easier than mine. My mother didn't seem surprised at all, as if she already knew. Grandmother Eleanor said, "Now I have 2 gay grandsons," and hugged both of us. Blake and Alex's relationship was very beautiful. Alex was very calm and understanding. He balanced Blake. Today, Blake works as creative director at Mitchell Electronics and is very successful. He and Alex got engaged and will marry next year. I continue to manage the company as CEO. Daniel and I will also start the adoption process soon. Our family gatherings are much happier now. Blake and I have the same trust as before. Sometimes we even remember those old fights and laugh. Last week, Blake had said, "Ethan, I wish Dad could see all of us, could see that he accepted both you and me for who we are." "He can see," I had said. "And he's proud of us." Mitchell Electronics is now a stronger company. When Blake's marketing vision and my technology background combine, great things come out. When my lawyer called that day, the panic in his voice was necessary. Blake's plan was really perfect and almost succeeded. But he didn't take one thing into account. Real family love can heal all wounds over time. Blake betrayed me. Manipulated me, tried to exclude me from my family. But in the end, we both learned that family is built with mutual love and respect rather than blood ties. Last evening, when Daniel and I invited Blake and Alex to dinner, while sitting at the table, Blake had said, "Ethan, thank you for giving me a second chance. Without you, I could never have felt this happy." "That's what families do, Blake," I had said. "We give each other opportunities, we forgive each other, and we grow together." Today, as Blake and I manage the company together, as two gay brothers, I see how strong we've made our family. Dad would really be proud of us. And justice? Justice wasn't just the case I won in court. Real justice was Blake finding himself and both of us reaching true happiness. Sometimes justice doesn't mean taking revenge. It means choosing love.